Welcome back to the Roundtable. I'm AwestruckVox, and Comic-Con is truly the gift that keeps on giving. Well, by the time you guys are watching this, Comic-Con would have been long gone. And while the entirety of the event has been Christmas for animation nerds alike, right now I want to focus on Infinity Train, the upcoming highly anticipated animated series by Owen Dennis, formerly on Regular Show and Close Enough. We all know about the pilot, and a few months back, we broke down a video from Cartoon Network giving us some very informative facts around the series. But now we have our first official trailer, and while it's short, it's jam-packed with some clues that you gotta inspect to find. Now, of course, spoiler warning in case we're too on the nose and you want to go into the series completely blind in 2019, which I don't blame you at all for. Okay, ready? Let's dive in. We open up at what we can assume is Tulip's home, a blue house that seems to be caught up in snowfall. The aforementioned 12 Facts video from a bit back actually confirmed the first episode of Infinity Train takes place in November, as fall is the season of change. And going off the not-so-subtle message at the end of the video, it appears Tulip originates from Minnesota, much like Owen Dennis. So the snow at this time of year checks out. On the topic of change, you can see that already taking effect in the shot. Some trees have already lost their leaves, while others are as green as can be. The sunset itself is also the kind of one you'd find in the fall, with its very specific warm orange tint. A detail I find interesting is the wooden bear near the driveway, holding a sign that reads, Olsen. We can assume that's Tulip's last name, but is it? This plays into a theory we'll touch on in a quick second, but back in April 2017, Owen Dennis confirmed Tulip's full name as Tulip Betelgeuse Van Helsing. While it is entirely possible you could have just changed the last name during the creative process, let's hang tight for a second and come back to it later. As we move on to a shot of Tulip's bedroom, a few things stick out at us, and we can deduce a lot about her personality from here, and possibly the time period the show is set in. Tulip's screensaver, monitor, printer, mouse, and keyboard aren't exactly archaic, yet they aren't the modern setup either. When you factor in this screensaver in particular last being seen in the Windows XP era, and assuming Tulip or her family may not have had the financial means to make the jump to the hottest computer tech as soon as it was available, we could date this in an early 2000s time frame. At the latest, maybe 2010? I personally had a desktop with Windows XP that I made good use of until 2011. If you do want to assume Tulip would upgrade to the latest computer hardware and software as soon as possible, Windows Vista was made to the public in 2007, which could also be the cap on when this first episode transpires. Either way, I'm thinking this is a pre-everyone has an iPhone era. Now, judging from the trash bin, open soda can, empty plate on her desk, and empty bowl on top of her computer, we can deduce that Tulip spends a lot of time in front of her computer, even eating meals here. This adds up as Owen Dennis decided that if Tulip was a real person, she would take programming classes. Dennis has described Tulip as possessing advanced 12-year-old logic, someone who is very intelligent for her age. This leads me to believe the metal hanging from her lamp could be related to computers and programming, alongside the open textbook directly underneath. In fact, the green block with two gray lines within the textbook reminds me of a computer part. Tulip also appears to be one of those messy, organized types where things may not look totally neat, but if you ask the person, they know exactly where everything is. This is going off of the various pieces of paper and other objects pinned up on her bulletin board in no particular order or fashion, the varying sizes of books stacked up on one another, the random pen and paper clip on her desk, and isolated discs tucked behind the books. While we're going off of how she organizes and keeps track of things, I feel as if the open drawer and leaving her textbook wide open on a page may be how she reminds herself of objectives. If she sees the textbook, she'll remember to complete an assignment. If she sees the open drawer, there may be a tool she has to put back in there when she's done using it. It also appears Tulip has developed an eye for aesthetic, with the stringed white lights hanging from her shelf, and the 3 stickers of a skull, purple mustache, and I believe a medal. It illustrates that she is still a child, has childlike wonder, can be kinda goofy. Now, last but not least, there's also an 8 ball. This is important because there's a phrase behind the 8 ball, which means going through a difficult situation. Something I think Tulip is enduring. Said situation is what brings her to the Infinity Train in the first place. I think this situation is divorce. We're shown a framed photograph of a younger Tulip of what we can assume is her mom and dad on vacation, as a voice, assumably her mother, calls out for her. In our last video for Infinity Train, I speculated that perhaps Tulip ran away to avoid issues at home, and that issue can be her parents splitting up. That's the point of focusing on this framed photograph, and explains the discrepancies in last names. Olsen may be her dad's name, while her mother's maiden name is Van Helsing. Helsing. With their parents splitting up, she has to go by her mother's name. Or maybe her father abandoned the family. And with this being fresh and recent, legally her name hasn't changed yet, but she decides herself to go by her mother's maiden name. Tulip running away at this point feels to be more or less a sure thing, as we cut to her bedroom window, open, implying that prior to her mom calling out to her, she packed her things and left unannounced, undetected. Considering in the pilot, Tulip had a habit of getting irritated and had small outbursts of frustration every time things failed to go her way, it wouldn't surprise me if she made the impulsive decision to run away. The trailer's ominous tone ramps into high gear as we find our protagonist in a setting familiar to the beginning of the pilot, except you may notice a lack of train tracks. Tulip looks around, frightened and confused. It's clear she did not end up at this location naturally, but rather, for lack of a better word, transported here. Wherever Tulip ended up at is what I believe to be the very first train car. This could be moments after entering the mysterious Infinity Train. And as the trailer comes to a close, Tulip looks at her hand as it glows for the first time, revealing the elusive number 115. A number we learned back in CN's 12 Facts video would be the very first number on her hand. Now the design and style of the numbers on Tulip's hand has also gotten a redesign compared to the original pilot. Although if you ask for my genuine opinion, the original look of the number looks way better, but I understand the new looks are easier to storyboard and animate. We also have a new logo. Honestly, I prefer the new one over the original. It's a lot more sleek in design. There you have it, everyone. That about concludes our breakdown of the San Diego Comic-Con Infinity Train trailer. What are your thoughts? How do you feel about the new look and motion? Personally, it reminds me of older Adult Swim shows, especially the squiggle vision approach to anime and shows like home movies. It's because of the thin line depth. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, or tweet directly to me at AwestruckVox. We're at the Roundtable on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Roundtable Vids. If you want to help the Roundtable grow, support us on Patreon. Get access to exclusive perks and have your name featured at the end of the video like all these beautiful, wonderful people. Link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications to stay in the loop with all things animation, including updates on Infinity Train. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. AwestruckVox, out.